listeners, Harika here, and I'm super excited to welcome you to UppTalk. If you're ready to learn and get your hands work wonders in the world of information technology, then you're in the right place. When I say UppTalk, we are not just another edtech company. Consider we are your learning partner committed to unlocking your full potential. Whether you're stepping into the world of technology for the first time or looking to advance your career, we provide top-tier, hands-on courses to build up your career. Let's take our first step towards learning here and explore it.
Basically yesterday, what I was talking is we will be having one XML from Workday. XML from Workday. You can get XML in two ways. Either you run the report, you go to the report in related action, there will be an option of web service. And in that web service, you will get option view URL. When you will click on that view URL, you will get multiple URLs. There you have to select Workday XML. That is one way of getting the XML data. Basically the tenant which they have shared here. Whenever you will try to get data using view URL. That will ask you ISU and password. Now you know how to create ISU and password for reports for EIPs. What you can do is you can create one ISU and you just remember the password. You keep that handy. If you want to get data from the report, you can use that ISU and password. And also again, basically that ISU and password security will depend based on report. Let's say you have created one report and there you have added 6 fields. You are going to configure security for only those 6 fields. Now another report you are creating where you have added 20 fields. And if you try to use the same ISU, you may not be able to use the same ISU also. You may not be able to use the same ISU. For that one, you need to configure. Either you need to create a new ISU or you need to add rest of the security to the existing ISU and ICHT which you have created. That is also generally. What I prefer is when you are testing something. See, when you see at this point of time, you are creating things by yourself and you are getting a lot of things. I would say you try to create a different security group and different ISU for each and every item that will give you the expertise of security. And if you are struggling, like there are a lot of securities, and if you don't want to configure the same security again and again, what you can do is you create one ISU and ICHT. And now, whatever number of reports you are building, whatever additional fields you are adding in that report, you just add the security domains for those fields in the security group. In that way, whenever you will try to extract data from Workday, you will be having this one ISU and the password created. But I would recommend creating ISU and ISHT different for each and every one, even in project. You are going to do that, but there are other ways. Also, we can use the same ISU for multiple EIBs if all the security domains are added. We can do that. From integration point of view, you will not be able to assign one ISU to many integration. One ISU will be assigned to just one integration, but one ISU can access many reports. It depends on your ease. You can just go in that way. The another method, if you don't want to go via report and view URLs, if you don't want to use that option, the another option is you create one EIB, you add that report in that EIB, and in that EIB, don't do any kind of transformation section, you just select none. And then you generate one file. Whenever you do that, there also, you will get the XML file. This is the file you will get there. That's another way of getting the XML file. Another recommendation, what I would give you guys is whenever you are creating these EIBs and when you are generating XML files, I will say in report, you just hard code a couple of employees there or a couple of items, whatever it was you are creating. You just in the filter you give some items or that report extraction or EIB extraction will happen for those limited number of sorry guys. What I was saying, there is another way of getting the XMA. You can create one EIB. In that IB, you just select transformation as none. When you will run the integration, you will get the XML file. Now, why do you need the XML file? Because when you will write the XLT, you are going to use the references of from XML only. Basically, this is the data right. This is one of the sample XSLT which yesterday I have created. Here, if you see whatever is coming in the Workday XML, we are going to use the same element names. This is one of the element in the Workday XML. I am using that Workday XML element to configure here to get the data. This is why whenever you create XML is important. That XML will give you the idea how data is stored, how to create the XPath and all. If you don't know the node like who is a parent node, who is a child node, you will not be able to create XSLT. Now let's see from scratch how exactly you are going to create XSLT. Basically, I will share this template with you guys. This one XSLT, maybe I will just attach in one of the integration. You can just download XSLT from that integration. And then you can just create your own XLTs. Today I will show this template and all that is something you can practice. See whatever functions you have explored in T-Scorecam, how exactly you can use those functions in the XLT. That is something you can do in. That is something you can test in two ways. The one way is you use the XML, not parties file. There you need to create two documents. One is the XML file and another is the XLT file. XML file and another is SLT file. Whichever you have to see, you just open. You say whatever you are updating in the XM or XSLT. You just keep those files open here. And then what you can do is, let's say this one is XML or let's say this one is XSL in any one of the document. You just go to the plugins. In plugins, you go to the XML tools. In XML tools, there will be one XL transformation. When you will click on this XML transformation, then it will ask you if you have opened the XLL file. Then select the respective XML file. And if you have opened the XML file, then select the respective XSLT file. Here, if you see right now the current file which is open, that is XSLT file. That is SF file. To transform XML, what I need to is I need to attach the XML file. You can just go to the related action. Sorry, this is not a related action. This is a browse option. You can just click on this browse option and you will get this pop-up to navigate that file name. You can just navigate and open that XML file or XLL file. Click on. It will transform here. Once you do that, you just click on this transform. It will transform the data. If you are using a very big file in XML, you may not be able to get the data. Because this is not designed to do the transformations and all. We have separate tools. For example, Oxygen Editor tool where we used to do the mass transformation. And the final thing which we have where we can check the transformation is the EIB integrations or any integrations in Workday. Now today I'll show you how to attach the XLT and how to test this XSLT via integration. Then we will come with the code, like what exactly I'm doing in the code and all. Ganesh, one question. Do you have that oxygen available that we can just see how? That is something that will be rarely available. Even if you join the company, they will not be having that. That is a paid software. We will need to buy the license. Basically, even right now. See, I am working in Workday from a very long time, but I have used Oxygen, I believe, for 1 year only. The rest of the places everywhere, I have either tested the transformation from Workday or I have tested the transformation using Notepad++. That is not a mandatory thing. It's just like that is the best tool to test the transformation. It depends upon the organization. If you are asking organization to give that, they will give you. But that comes with the course, right? They will ask you for the justification. Why can't you do it directly? Today, let's see how to attach accessibility in EIB and then how to test the transformation. Basically, yesterday I was checking one EIB integration. I believe that was INT. First report. First one. Let me see what report. Ganesh first report. Here I have added very minimum fields. We will start with the minimum fields and then later you can explore whatever number of fields you want to do and or you can explore and to download the XSLT in your system. I would advise when I'll attach it. This integration you just download from there. And how to download, I'll let you know. Basically, what you can do here is this is the EIB which I have already created. Now this EIB is generating file in XML format. Now I need to configure the XSLT. For that one first, what we will do is there is one task. I will create XSLT Attachment Transformation. Here I'll give the integration name for the reference that we can identify the XSLT as well. XSLT. I'm just giving this name and that is XSLT. Let me shave this once again. The name is XLEIBRPD. What am I doing is I'm attaching the XSLT from the system to Workday. Click on. Once you click on, then there is one XSLT transformation created in which the XSLT is attached. Now coming to this integration. See, I have already created integration. You can also create integration from the scratch. But if you have already created integration, you can use the transformation in that integration also. What I'll do is here go to the related action, go to Enterprise Interface, then click on Edit. When you click on Edit, go to the Transformation section. You select a transformation as Custom Transformation. Earlier we have discussed the Custom Report transformation. Now you have to select the Custom Transformation. Select the Custom Transformation. Here it will ask you the transformation name. Whatever XLT name transformation, a transformation name I have created, I'll just use that name. I'm searching that transformation using my name. That will be easier to search. See that transformation, that SLT is attached in this integration. Now click on Next. In delivery, now we know the file generated will not be the XML, that will be text file. I'm just changing the extension. You can do a stat or sesv, whatever you want. I'm just doing that file. Now click on next. Here you can review XSLT is there. You click on. Now let me run this integration. To run the integration, you need to go to integration and then launch a schedule. Click on file name and all. I'm using a system default. If you want to override the file name from here, you can select some data. Specify value. You can override the file name here also. I'm not doing that thing. I'm clicking. Now integration is running. Here, now you will see there is another step, transformation step. Similarly, when you will configure the delivery step, then there you will see one more step. After transformation, you will see there is one delivery step as well. We don't have TP. That's why we are not able to configure the delivery. Once you configure the delivery, then one more step will be added here. Now the file has been generated. .type. That file. Now I'm just downloading this and then I'll just open that file in Notepad. See, this has been transformed. The data has been transformed. This is how for this person. I'm not sure why date is coming here. Maybe the XPath which I have given is not correct. Let's just debug that. Basically here, if you can see, the document has been transformed. But the data, we can see the data is somewhere not correct. What we will do is this is the XML here. We'll see where it is. Now basically, the heading is not right here. There is no first name and last name. But in the file, we are trying to get the first name and last name. We don't need first name, last name and say it. We need hire date and date of birth. In XLD, basically how to get the data. See here, I have configured the hire date, date of birth and the gender. Gender value is not coming. No worries. Now if you make change in XSLD, and if you need to test that in a Workday integration, then what you can do, let's say you created one integration, EIB integration, in which in that EIB integration, you have created SLD and you attach that XLD also. Now the first step. Are you clear like how to configure XSLT in EIB? What will be the steps? And we need to create the XSLT attachment transformation. And there we need to give the like XSLT name and then download and attach that file over there. You have created one XSLT attachment transformation. Now how can you use that XSLT in EIB? EIB, we need to go to the business. Here in EIB, you need to go to the enterprise. Then we will go enterprise. Enterprise interface, then go to edit and edit. There you will be able to do in the task. If you are creating a new integration, then directly you can attach the transformation if you have created the XSLT transformation. Now let's say you have already created one XSLT attachment transformation and you have made some changes in the XLD. How will you do that? For that one, we have another task that is edit XSLT attachment transformation. Earlier I used create to create new. Now if I need to edit, I will use edit XSLT attachment transformation. Click on this edit XSLT attachment transformation. Here you just mention the XSLT attachment transformation name. For example, in this I have created ICU Gainish. Instead of enterprise interface, we can do. This is another way, right? Now this is the way. This is just to edit. Edit the XSLT attachment transformation. That is the interface we are configuring XSLT integration. Understood. Now click. When you will click here, you will be having option delete here. You can see in the right hand side there is one option to delete. Now delete this and then you can reselect from the system. Let's say this one is the XSLT. Now I'm running the integration again. Click, then click. Here you can say gender is equal to gender. Now the heading has also been changed. The line has also been changed. I have made changes in XLT. Now at this point of time, you knew how to configure XSLT in EIB. Now let's see how to write XSLT and code. Basically, there will be some basic templates. Whenever you create any XSLT, the first line you will give there is of this one, the version and all. Now you can get the XSLT which I have attached there from the integration. How can you get that XSLT? You can open my EB. You open my EB. Or you simply go to edit XSLT attachment transformation. From there, only you will be able to download. Here, if you open my EIB, you can simply click on this. When you will click on this, it will download the XSLT. You just use my XSLT for reference. Now let's understand what happens in XSLT. Whenever you write any XSLT, you start with the version and the encoding type. Start with the version and the encoding type. This style sheet. Basically, we start everything in XSLT with the style sheet. This style sheet will be the parent node in the XLT root node. The root node will always be a style sheet. In that style sheet, basically we pass some attributes. See, this is a node. In this node, we are going to pass some attributes. What are the attributes we are going to pass? We will be passing the namespaces and the libraries. This URL is the XSLT library. For example, if you write code in C or Java, in C generally we used to write has include studio, has include conio, something like that. And then in Java also we used to import. For system or printer, something you need to import. Basically the very basic library. I think import RTDO, I believe. I don't remember. I have never worked in Java, but here basically, you need to refer the libraries. This XXL is referring, this XL is one of the namespace, and this SL namespace is referring to the library for the XSLT transformation. You can just click on this one as well, and you will be able to see all the libraries. Then there is this 2000 XML schema. All these are libraries. This XML schema is library. This is XML schema in Sansa library. This is something you need to use as a library because whenever you are writing anything, for example, XSL value of select, everything should be identified in the code right. All those identification happens using these libraries. You need to import all these libraries. Then the next important thing will be this namespace. You need to define, like when in the report XML, basically there are a lot of UD colon, UD colon. This UD colon we have to identify. How exactly you will identify? You can define the namespace something like that. XMLN's colon D is equal to the namespace which has been created in the Workday report. This namespace, you don't need to open report and or whatever. However, you get the XML whether from the report or from the integration. In that report or integration, you will get the namespace. You simply need to copy this namespace part here in the XSLT. See, what you need to understand here is in sciences. I have not closed the bracket. Everything I am defining as an attribute in this style sheet. You just use this namespace. Then exclude result prefix. In the result, if you want to exclude the X, C, then you need to use this one. You can explore all this function in more in Nudis Kurscom. You can simply remove this and then you can practice what is happening with the output. And then you have defined the version. Version you just give us 2.0. Mostly in every XSLT, whatever you would create for EIB, this part will be the same. This part will be the same. Let me create one template for you and that template will be same. Let's say I'm removing everything. Except that report name will change, right Ganesh? Yes, I'll come to that. Basically for whatever XLT you will create this much. This will be almost same. This will not be there. You understand this is a kind of template to create XSLT for AB. Here there is. This will not be. All these things will be same apart from just one thing. This will be different. This namespace will be different for each and every EIB because you are using different report in EIB. Apart from this namespace, everything will be same by default in any XSLT, which you will create for EAB. You can consider this as a template. The actual coding start from here. Templated template is equal to match. This template is equal to. Actually, this template is used to refer to one particular node from where exactly you want to start the execution. Here, this slash means this is going to start the execution from the root node. This is going to start the execution from the root node. If you don't want to start execution from the root node, if you want to start execution directly from report, see, here what I'm referring to this is the root node. When you are giving just slash in the template, then the execution will start from here. Now, if I give something like this in the template, let's say, if I give something like this in template, then this will start. The execution will start from the report entry. Let me show you how this works. And this is how you use to define the variable. This is how you are going to define the variable. One sec. Basically, let's say, if you need to define a new variable is something which holds some values. I think Shalini and Lakshmi you guys know, but for to you Karuna and Arutvik variable is just a kind of, you can say, one container, which will store some value. If you define some value, it is going to store some value. Basically how that works is you need to write XL variable. Just do that, and this Notepad++ is very smart nowadays. Basically, you can when you will create one tag, if you open that tag, automatically this Notepad++ will create a closed tag. For example, here if I am creating a new tag, let's say text, then automatically it will create a closing time. You just need to enter and you start writing code here, whatever you want to. Here in variable, we don't need this in variable directly. We are not going to create in this way. Basically what we will do is we will end here only. When you end here, when you put slash here, then this variable, this tag is going to close there. There are two ways of closing that. Even if there is one way, is you just open tag in one bracket and then close tag in another bracket. The another is you do all the logics here and you just close the tag. In this way, this is one of the closed tags. I have used just one here. If you see, the closing tag for XL column variable is not there because it itself is closing. And here we are not doing that for template for XL, for we are not doing that. We are not doing that. The reason is we cannot write every logic in the attributes here. You can write every logic in the attributes and you can simply close the tags. Now if I need to create a new, let's say new, variable, what I'll do is I'll use XSL variable. Then I'll define the name. For example, let's say I am defining name that is Ganesh. That is Ganesh, and the value which I want to store in this variable is select. Equal to, let's say, the value which I want to store is hello world. Before I print any data in the report, I want to print hello world. What I can do is to get the date, that to get the value from this variable in the output file, I need to select, I need to use value of. To use value of, what you can do is you just write SL value of, automatically you will get. You just select, then close for value of. Also, we don't need this closing tag separately. We are going to close directly here in the closing tags. Then this is something you are going to define here from Excel value of. Basically, you are instructing SL what to print. You are saying SLT to extract the value. Now from where this value is going to extract the value, that is something we can figure in select. You have to write a select is equal to there. You can configure things. If you are getting data from the XPath, this is one of the XPath. This is another XPath. What XPath? XPath is a navigation of one particular element in the XML. XPath is the navigation of one particular element, value in XML. To get the data, you need to navigate. For example, if you need to get the date of birth for this employee, you have to navigate from report data report entry. Then you can go for date of birth. This is the traversing from the root node to the child element. That is what we call as XPath. If you need to print data, the value from the XPath you can configure in this way. And now, if you want to get the value from, let's say, variable, then what you need to do is you can simply add $1. And then you just give the variable name. Here I have used Ganesh variable name. I'm just using this Ganesh. Save. This is here again. How will you save this file? What you do in Notepad+. Here you give the name. In the name you just give XSLT. EID, let's say test2. Test2 by Excel. You give the extension here, .xsl. Once you give the extension here in the Notepad here, save as type. There is one option, save as type. In this save as type, what you do is you select all files. Here you can select all files. Select all files here. You don't forget to give the extension. Then this will be saved. Click on save. It will be saved as Excel. Now let us transform. Transform L. This X that I'm referring, I'm not going in Notepad. Sorry, EIB, I'm just transforming from here itself. Here you need to go to XML tools, then Excel transformation. Sorry, I did not select the file. Now browse here, transform XML. Click open, then transform. It did not generate anything. That means there is something wrong in the XML. There is something wrong in the XML, not in the XML. There is something wrong in the XSLT. What is that wrong thing? Let's check again. Let's go back to XML. Let's go back to XML. What is wrong here? Instead of that, we can use slash. I mean, it's difficult to debug in Notepad++. Generally, this is not something we generally use. But you can also attach in EIB and there you will be able to see the issues, whatever you will see. Basically here, there is something wrong with the template or if whatever I have configured. Template is equal to match. There I have not given any root node. Let me run using this one first. This is good. It should print hello world, right? No. This is actually what exactly I did. I created a new Excel, right? But you use the transform monks. Let me copy this. Then match value of new line. Let me show you one thing. Look for the by the not mentioned because I have not iterated in Excel. No worries. Let me just transform now. See, now it is coming. Basically, what I have done is here, I define one new variable. To define a new variable, I have to define a new variable. you need to use XL variable. And then there you have to define the name of the variable. Whatever you want to hear. I have given my name. You can just try by giving your name or anything. You can write anything. Earlier, basically in maths, we generally used to define like into x is equal to this, y is equal to this. Then you are doing x plus y, something like that. You do that. Y. Similarly, here in coding, we used to define variables in this way. If you need to define int, if you need to define x is equal to 5, you can simply mention here, instead of names, you just give x, and here in the value, you can give the value of x, whatever you want to. This is how you define the variable, and to print variable in the output file, you can use this way. Basically XL colon value of dollar, and after dollar you give the variable name. Now in this XLT, what is happening? The iteration is happening from the root node. Iteration means the execution is starting from the root node. This is defining your root node. This is the root node. Then the next line which I have printed. This is a new line. Actually, this is not a new line. I am trying to print one variable. This new line. If you see, this new line has been defined as a variable here in this XLT. You can print, you can define. This is a new line character. If you want to get a new line characters, for example, if you want to get space character or tab character, you can simply search new line character. In XLT, if you give that the Stack Overflow, always gives you the correct result. Here you will be able to see many things. Someone has used a new line. This person has used new line like this, but this is not a best way, right? I mean, this is weird, right? This person has used a text block and he has just entered. You know, he just pressed enter in the text block. Basically, we should not be using in that way. Instead, we should be using the new line characters in this way. You will get whatever characters, special characters, you will need to print in the XSLT. You can just do the Google. You will get the character. You need to configure that character as a variable name in XSLT, and then you can use that variable anytime. For example, here it has been mentioned space, but that is actually a delimiter, pipe delimiter. And this is printing this pipe delimiter. This is one variable. This is another variable, and this is another variable. This is how we have printed. What I would recommend is you in XSLT, you start with printing this hello world. You print the hello world first in the XLT using XLT in Notepad cluster. Then you start the coding. Now the next part is XSL template. The template will decide from where exactly the execution has to start. This route means that the execution is starting from the root node, and then there inside this template, you will be defining the logics. These are the logics as in, basically, if I have defined any variable, whatever I need to print on, that is something we are going to define here in the template tag. In this template block, basically, you will start writing the course, whatever you want to print. How exactly you can print in the output file? To print, we have a function XL value of this. This is actually going to print things in your output file. If you want to print anything in XSLT using XLT in output file, you need to use this function XSL value of and then select is equal to here. You need to pass the value. Here, if I pass anything fixed, then it is going to print the fixed thing. Let's say if I pass directly any name and instead of this $new line, if I pass any string value, then it is going to print that string. Similarly, I have printed all these things. Now the next thing, I wanted to define header as well. I wanted to define header. To define header, basically you can use this text block. This text block means in this block, whatever you will write here, it will simply print that thing there. It will simply print that in output file. This is I did something. Here, what if you want to print anything? The heading will be the fixed thing. That is something you can define in this XSL column text block. Here, whatever you will write, that will be printed as a heading in the output file. Here I'm just adding one more and then I'm adding one more. Logic, simply logic. I'm just mentioning logic. I'm not building any logic at this point of time. If I do this, then this will be printed as a header. If you see the output file, there is one header. This came from one of the variable and then this came from the header. This is coming from your text block. Now, once text block is printed, this text block is printed, I want to change the line. I have used that new line variable again. I have printed a new line using this variable and then I need to iterate. Basically, in this transform, if you see there are multiple workers. Here I have used data for only 5 workers. But when you will actually working in the real-time system, then you will be having data for almost 20,000 workers, 30,000 workers. Or it could be 3,000 workers, 4,000 workers, something like that. They're basically to iterate for each and every employee. How processing happens actually? Basically, now your execution has come into this report data and from this report data, the execution is going in, reporting this from this report data. It is going to pick each and every report entry. For each and every report entry, it is going to print the value. Here we are defining to print for each and every report entry. This is a for loop. For loop means if you want to iterate. Basically, here there are 5 workers. I want to execute this worker data first, then this worker data, then this worker data. This functionality you can achieve using for loop. In the XLD, we have for loop. In for loop, you can configure from where exactly execution should be started. The template and the syntax for loop is you can use XSL colon for each. Here, if you will type XSL colon for it automatically, it will come. You just close the bracket, enter, then you will come. Then you start building logic here. The logic will be here, but the criteria for the for loop from where the execution has to start, that is something you need to define like this. A select is equal. Select equal to here. You define from where exactly iteration has to loop. That iteration has already created here. If you see for this for loop, there is an ending for each as well. For this XLT iteration has already been created. You can write multiple for each based on dependency, based on the requirements, and based on the dependency. Basically, let's say you have created one for each loop, and in this for each loop, you need to define another for each as well. For example, there is a multi-instance field. In one report entry, there will be multiple values for one entry. You may need to define another for each inside the for. That is something we call nested looping. Nested looping loop inside the loop. That depends on the requirement. Once you have defined the for each loop, then you can get the data. Basically what it is doing, this for loop, what is happening when the iteration is going? It is checking for report entry. The first report entry, it went into the XML. It checked the first report entry. This is the first report entry, the loop of the work. The job of for loop is to select this block. The for loop has selected this block. Now inside in this report entry block, there are a lot of elements. Now you need to get data from inside, inside the elements. Basically, your iteration is here. This block has been picked up. Now block has been decided. In this block, basically these are the elements. Now you have to get data from the elements. That is something you will configure inside the for loop. The block has been selected from here. The block has been selected from here. And in each and every block there are some elements. You need to retrieve value from the elements. You are going to select the element IDs here, and then that is how you are going to print the values in the output file for this block. Basically for this block, there are elements as employee ID, height, edit, and date of birth. Here what we are doing, we are just printing employee ID, then I'm just giving one space. The space is nothing but this new line, this pipe character. Then another field, then again pipe character, then another field, then again pipe character. If you see the output file, say the employee ID, then there is one pipe character, then another hire date, then high edit. Then after hire date, there is another pot dip lineup. This is the pipe. This is a delimiter. You are going to be printing employee ID, then you are printing the delimiter. Then again you are printing the hire date, then again delimiter. Then we are printing the date of birth, then again delimiter. Then you are printing the gender. Basically the execution is happening in that way. This first line will be executed. This will print the employee ID. The first line. This will print the employee ID. Then it is going to print the delimiter. Whatever you have defined here. Then again the next line, it is going in the hire date. It is going to print the hire date. Then again delimiter, then date of birth, then again delimiter, then the gender value, and then there is a new line. Once gender is printed, I don't want to continue. If I do not give the new line character, then everything will continue in just one line. I don't want to continue everything in one line. I want to create separate lines for each and every record. Once all these course executions will be finished, then new line character will be introduced. New line character will be printed, and that is what is going to change the line. Basically, your execution happened here. Once the execution, the first record, is processed, the new line character will be printed, and then execution will go here. And then again another record entry. For another record entry, the same thing will happen. Here in the transform, the first report entry has been processed. Now coming to the second report, and this is what for loop does. In for loop, when your first block is processed, it will automatically select the another block. And this is the another block. This is the another report, entry block. Now again for loop will select this block, and you will be able to get data from this block. Once this is processed, then again new line character will be printed, and for loop will go to the another report entry. Once this is processed, new line will be printed, and then processing will go for the another block. This is how it works in the for loop. Any questions far? Are you able to understand this, guys? How exactly this execution is happening? It's Ganesh. Ganesh. Now let's say this is for loops. For loop, you understood. Now, if you want to build the condition, for example, if the gender is female, I want to add another priority. There is new field I want to introduce, that is priority. If we want to write logic where we need to apply some conditions for that one. In SLT, we have one function that is XSL if. You can use XLI if. In X, if what this is a syntax of XL. If here you need to use test. Test equal to, you can say, let's say this one. This is getting the value of gender. Then here let's say what values are coming in the file female. I want to print if the gender is female, the priority should be high. The priority should be high. For that one, what I can do is XL. Then text. I want to print the static text. I'm just using text block function there as I have printed this one this high. When the gender is female, then I just want to print this text, another text which is high. This is just a string. Now if I want to do that, let me save this. Then let me use the transformation. Plugins XML2's transformation, again pick. Transform. Here if you see, for this one priority has C, this one is the female. And for this female, another value is coming as high. But there is no pipe. There is no pipe, no delimiter is coming. The reason is I have not added any delimiter. I have not added any delimiter. To add the delimiter, I'll again use the variable components. What I'll do is an Excel. I'll go. This is the variable which is printing the delimiter. Here before we print anything, I'll just use this delimiter. Now save this. Now transform again here. If you see the delimiter is coming. Now if I want to configure, I mean now are you clear with the safe condition? What is happening? If you need to apply anything, condition, what you can do is you need to use this XLL function in XL function. What you have to do is this is the XML if tag, where you need to write the logic. Then you need to define one attribute in that attribute. Attribute name will be the test. Attribute name will be not attribute name. Basically, if you need to test check the condition, the validation, you can simply do in this way. You just write a test is equal to here. You write whatever value you want to configure. If you want to configure. Let's say 1 is equal to 2. You can just simply add here 1 is equal to 2. It will check whenever 1 is equal to satisfy. Then it will print the values. If the condition is not satisfying, it won't do anything. See here in the output, basically for female, I just read it. If the gender is female, then print the prior priority as high it has printed. But whenever the gender is male, it is not printing anything. Basically, the condition is not satisfied. That is not at all processed. If gender is female, that male, that code itself is not getting processed. Now, if you want to build multiple condition logic, instead of if else you want to write this condition for all the genders. Let's say for male, female. Before we do that, if you need to do some kind of comment in XSLT, if you want to comment a section in XLT, what you can do is you can use conical bracket, exclamation mark, double hyphen. That is the opening for if you want to just comment any block, you can simply do this one. When this will become green, then that means you know that has been commented. Now, this is the starting comment. You need to put the ending configuration as well from where to where you are. You know you want to comment that the code to end the code comment. What we will do is we will again write double hyphen and then we will close with the conical bracket. This is how you are going to comment in the code. I have added comments. Now, this code will not be executed. If I transform, then again you will see that this gender value, this high value will be wiped out. See, now there is no value. That means the code has been commented. Now commented means this code will not get processed now. Now let's say if you will be having multiple conditions. Here, you understood the loop, you understood the template. Then now you understood the if condition when there is just one condition. Now let's say if you're having multiple conditions, you remember you created one evaluate calculated field where you were writing multiple functions, multiple true, false, calculated field. And for those true, false calculated field, you are returning some values. Now similar things you have to apply here. For example, you need to test multiple conditions and based on those conditions, you need to print multiple values. Again, as you know, in this batch the ladies count is greater, those greater. I'll just give the priority high to ladies and low priority to James. Let's check multiple conditions. To check multiple conditions, what you can do is you have one function, XLChoose. Cell choose. This is XSLT. You can click this one. Then you have selected the block. Then here in XSLT, you have to use another thing that is XSLT. When you will write the condition, when test is equal to, let's say, this one, the same condition. Oh, sorry. When the gender is female, the priority is high. I'm using this one again. When the gender is female, the priority is high. Now, when the gender is male, then I want to add priority is low. What I'll do, I'll create another when condition. Here I'll just say the gender is male. And here I'm just saying priority as low. Then now I have checked two conditions. If the gender is female, then the priority is high. If the gender is male, then the priority is low. Now, if the records are not satisfying this condition and this condition, then what would happen? Basically for that one, we have another function inside this choose function that is access shell. Otherwise, in access shell, otherwise you can print the default value. Here you can see. Otherwise, you don't need to write any kind of validations. You can simply use otherwise. And here in the text, let's say, I'm saying low, I'm saying medium. We need to give priority to everyone. Basically, I'm saving this one. Now, when I'm saying it is giving me error. Why it is giving me that? Because I have used when in otherwise, which is not allowed. Now I'm saving. Now when I saved it, the error is gone. Basically what I did is I defined this function. And in that I have defined access, I'll win multiple access. I'll win where I'm checking this condition first. Then I'm checking this condition. Then I'm checking this condition. Once this condition is satisfied for any record, these conditions will not be checked. This will be checked basically. It can be override. Basically, that is something you need to practice. Now I'm saving and I'm just running this transformation again. Here, if you see for this record there was no gender defined automatically. Medium has came. All these female. Female for high priority. Male see low priority, low priority. And then here again there was no gender. Medium priority has came. If you need to write condition multiple conditional logic, then you are going to use XSLT. And in that XSLT, you need to use XSLWin. And in XSLWin, you write the condition, you print the values. Then for default value, you can use XSL. Otherwise, this is similar to your evaluate calculated field. Any question to here? Ganesh, if it is multiple condition, then we go with the when. If it is only one condition, we go with if. Is that right? Basically, you see using if also you will be able to define these conditions. For example, if you write multiple if blocks, that is also going to work. But instead of that, if you need to check multiple condition, the preferred is this function, choose function. If you have to just check the validation for any one element, you go for XSL. C for to print when the logic is to print one value. To print value for one field. For here its example. This priority is one of the fields I'm trying to define the logic for priority. Now to print the priority, if there is one condition which needs to be checked, I'll use if. But to bring the priority, if there are multiple conditions and based on those multiple conditions, priority should be decided. And then only one value needs to be printed. In those cases, I'm going to use this function. Any other question in Access? Karuna, I think this is your first, coding experience. Are you feeling like this is very complicated or something? See, you have not created it, but you may download the integration, the XSLT, which I have attached in the EIB. In that EIB, whatever I have explained, like how to print the values, how to loop the values, how to create the condition, how can you use this otherwise and choose condition. This is something you can practice. When you will practice, see whenever you learn any new kind of coding language. And whenever you print this hello world by yourself, you get the confidence. I will say initially, don't go with the printing everything in just one XSLT. You will start with a very basic one. You try to print hello world first. Then you try to get the values from the XML. That will build up your confidence. Those who have already worked in coding for them, they can, just directly start with these things as well because they already know the syntax is different, but the logic is same. If you face any issues, Karuna, in writing code and in understanding, you can, bring those things on. That's fine because I understand the coding part is something new for you, but it is not that difficult. You will be able to do that. It's just like you need to just practice. You try to create your own XLTs, and then tomorrow we will discuss if you will be having any issues. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@uptalk.com.